Okay, there. Yep.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Robyn MacKillop with Get That GED. And today we're just going to go through a pre-test out of it's an older GED book, but sometimes these things are really good study guides. And if there's anything that is no longer pertinent to GED, I'll let you know. But it's kind of nice to have these just to go through and balance out answers. So let me switch cameras and we'll get going. All right. Let me clear this so it's not blurry. Now, for sure, you will have tables and graphs in social studies. There'll be all different types. You might have line graphs. This is similar to a line graph, even though it's got images of cars. You could have pie graphs, the round ones that look like pieces of pie. Tables, where you've got the things that stand up, all sorts of graphs. Social studies is big on graphs. So we'll start with this one. Graph A shows vehicle production with the symbol representing how many cars. So we're looking at the title for this one. You will not likely have a fill-in like this on the actual test, but they will often have a question that is answered by the title. So here shows vehicle production in 1998 with the symbol representing 1 million cars. So here, number two, in 1998, Toyota produced almost 5.5 million cars. So we just come up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. That is true. They did. And then according to Graph A, the total production of GM and Ford is about what? More than the combined production of Toyota, Renault, and Volkswagen. So this is a very good question. GED loves to do this to you. You are going to have to figure out total production for GM and Ford. So we'll go up here. The top two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.25, maybe. 8.25. And then Ford, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 16.25 for GM and Ford. And then we need to figure out Toyota, Renault, and Volkswagen. We know that Toyota is 5.5. Looks like Renault is just under 5. They kind of cut off the nose. So we're going to just, let's say 5. So that's 10 and maybe a quarter, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's almost 15 million. So if we've got 16.25 for GM and Ford and 15.2 for the other three, what's the difference? It's going to be 1 point something million, right? Approximately. So we come down here and what are our answers? About 1 million. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. GED loves these where you really have to find two different things and then do not a terrible calculation. Usually they're pretty reasonable calculations, but you have to read it carefully because it's easy to think, oh, wait, I need to count up all these. And then often the 16 would have been down here. All right, which statement best describes graph A? Toyota is catching up with Ford. It's off by 2 mil. 2.5 million. Volkswagen had a bad year. We don't know that, do we? We have no idea what the sales of Volkswagens is. In 1998, GM and Ford were the top producers. That's true. GM and Ford. So perfect. The thing I like about the tables and graphs, it's really hard for the test writers to mess them up. The information has to be in the table. And that's what I like about them, because they can't, it's not like when you have to read something and they ask you to assume what the
Not very
writer.
complicated.
Yeah, it's more straightforward. Let's see, tables everywhere, everywhere. They love tables. All right, so here, how sports teams make money. Graph B, and this whole thing is graph B. Graph B shows how the national what and the national what make money.
Okay.
So football, hockey.
Okay.
And this is American football, not soccer, which is football in every other country except the US. And then for both leagues, television receipts provide the greatest part of their revenue. So we're looking at this one, television and radio, definitely the biggest part of their revenue. Over here, this is not television, this is ticket sales.
Yeah.
So this is false.
Yeah.
Because it's only for one.
Yeah, one. That should be
Yeah.
football.
Perfect. Earnings from ticket sales for National Football League are
Okay.
what percent of earnings from ticket sales for the National Hockey League? So we've got 63% for hockey, 24% for football. This one is not as bad as it appears. What is it's not equal, we know that, it's not A.
If you got 24, then you can do it.
Yeah, so what's the difference between 63 and 24?
It will be 39.
Yep. And we got to make sure we've got it in the right order. Earnings from football are 39%.
39 more than more.
Yeah, they're less.
Yeah.
Football is 39% less.
Yeah.
than-
Yes. Yes.
You like how they did that? Nice
Yeah.
word.
Yeah. They make the football first and the hockey second.
Yeah. And these are the things you have to watch. It's probably one of the worst parts of social studies is you'll often get these kind of double entendre questions. So you have to be careful how they're asking. Perfect. So that answer is B. And then it can be concluded from graph B that all of the following are true, except both leagues receive the same percent of their revenue from licensing. So licensing, 4%, 4%, that is true. So the answer is not A because we're looking for the false. Football is less dependent on ticket sales. That's not true because football, everybody watches on TV. Hockey games people go to. More than half of football revenue comes from television and radio. Oh, and that's true, isn't it? So that's not the answer either. We're looking for the false. Hockey is a more popular sport to watch than football. Well, that's not true. Let me see that again. Wait a minute. Hockey is a more popular sport to watch than football because of high ticket sales.
You're not asking maybe for the television. It's a live, like watching live.
Yeah, and that one, that's actually true. They should have worded that better.
Yeah.
They
They
should have
should say-
said in person,
Yeah.
because this one, ticket sales are as important to revenue for the hockey league. Oh, wait. Then
D
they
is correct, right?
Yeah, this one. So this is the incorrect one. And that happens often, I've noticed. If I'm stumbling over an answer, it's usually because it's the answer I need to choose. And I stumbled over that one. And I think it could be clearer. But
Yeah.
this one is true. This one is debatable.
Mhm.
We don't
Okay.
actually know the numbers of people who watch each sport. Interesting.
Yeah.
Even though many more ticket sales. It's easier to go to a hockey game than it is a football game. And it's kind of fun to watch hockey in person. All right, here's another graph. So the one we just did, that was our pie graph. You know, it looks like a pie, everything's cut up. This one is a line or bar graph. It's a bar graph because of the little bars, but it's set up like a line graph. So here, world population growth projected to 2030. Graph C shows what in the world projected to. Shows population in the world projected to 2030. Now, again, you are likely to get a question like this where the answer is in the title, but it's highly unlikely it's a fill-in. It'll be like a multiple choice, A, B, C, D. But really the only thing.
Where is graph C?
This one.
The lines?
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah. And graph C, they're just labeling the entire graph.
Okay, okay, method.
Yeah. All right. The greatest population growth is projected to occur in Europe and North America. So 1995 is the white line. 2030 is the black. Europe is, where's Europe? Up here. And North America is next. These are not the two biggest, are they?
Yeah. No.
Because those are really close between 95 and 2030. They did not see a huge population increase.
The down one, the eastern.
Yeah.
Eastern population.
So these are the one, and you don't even have to tell them that these are the right ones. This one's just false. All right, let's look at what will be the increase in population in South Asia between 95 and 2030. So right here, they're at what, about a billion, $1.8 billion maybe. This is what I don't love about bar graphs when they don't have grids behind them. You are guesstimating that number.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about 1.8 million.
Yeah.
And then they are going to go to
2.4 something.
Yeah. So it's at least a billion people, right?
Yeah.
So that'll
Which
be
one?
C.
How you found the answer?
From 1.8 to 2.4.
Yeah, you start with the current population. It's about 1.8. The projected population is about 2.4. So they're looking for, what is that?
Where is 1.8?
Right here with
That's
a
a guess. That's a guess. That's you should have to guess.
Yeah, see right there where that line ends.
Yeah, to get the best answer in the four, you can see the four answers. Which one is the best for you?
Yeah. And so you're just looking for the difference between these two lines, and it's close to a billion.
It's
Close to 1
between-
billion. Okay.
Yeah. It's not going to be right on, and they know that, so they give you answers like this. But it's still, it'd be really nice if this had a grid and you knew exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should mention the numbers.
Yes, I wish they would, because this can be aggravating for you, especially when you're in the middle of a test. It's like, well, I hope I'm close. All right, and then which statement best summarizes the information on graph C? North American and East Africa will soon have the same population. We can go up and check. North Africa. Not really, right? Well, maybe. Yeah, they could. That could be. They're close. The two black lines. Let's see the other answers. The majority of the world's population in 2030 will live throughout Asia. That is true.
Yeah.
Given how much bigger the population is. Europe is losing population. Don't think that's true. Nope, they're gaining just a
No,
little.
this close.
And the population of the world between 95 and 2030 will probably double.
No.
Well, it's not really doubling.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
It's greater, but
I
it's
think
not,
B or A. That's more close.
yeah. So the answer to that one is North America. They added an N there. It should just be North America. And East Africa will soon have the same population.
That's good.
Yeah, because they are really, really close.
Yeah.
That line and that line. Yeah. Yeah, tables can be fun, believe it or not. This is a good line graph.
Yes.
All right, shows the increase in smoking for high school students from 91 to 97. So even though that wasn't part of the title, you can see where it started and where it ended. In 1995, teenage girls were smoking as much as teenage boys. So the dotted line is girls, the solid line is boys. In 95, where's 95? Right here?
No.
It's not really.
Yeah, it's close, but not true.
So we're going to say false to that one. In 97, here we go. What was the percentage of teenage boy to teenage girl smokers? So here you're just looking for the difference between these two figures.
The
3%. Perfect.
D.
Perfect. And from the information in graph D, you could infer, meaning you get to take a guess, that the campaign against smoking is working. Teenagers are smoking at an earlier age. Teenage girls are smarter than teenage boys. Smoking is increasing rapidly among teen girls, or smoking for teenage girls seems to be leveling off while it continues to rise for boys. So it doesn't really, well, I guess you could say that levels off, and it does keep going up for boys. And we know that it's not girls are smarter than boys. That doesn't even make sense for the chart.
I think so. B is more.
You like teenagers smoking at an earlier age?
Yeah, or it's rapidly in that.
The interesting thing is they don't actually give us an age breakdown other than high school. And depending on where you go to high school, that could be the 9th year or the 10th year. And that would mean kids are 15 or 16. So that one, it's a good one. It's probably true, but according to the chart, we don't know.
It's a guess.
Yeah, definitely. So the best one is really E, where the girls, they're almost leveling off, but the boys keep going up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Good job. And then we've got just your basic number chart. So chart A, this is chart A, shows percentages of average unemployment for 1998 by race. Black men, Black women, white men, white women. By looking at chart A, you can compare the difference in joblessness for people from teenage to retirement. So what ages are we actually looking at?
That's 16, 19, and 20, 24.
Yeah, nobody's retiring at 24.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's a false.
yeah.
What's the answer for the 17?
Pardon?
Which one? The answer for the 17, the first one.
Oh, this is percentages of unemployment for 1998.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, if you get a question like this, it'll likely be multiple choice, not fill in. The average unemployment for Black men between ages 20 and 24 is almost, so we come up here, Black men unemployed 20 to 24, 18%. White men is 6.7. So this is 3 times greater.
3 times greater.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're looking at the difference between Black men and white men, same age. 3 times greater, D. And then the following statement is true according to chart A. More elderly people are unemployed than teenagers. We don't know that, do we? Because we're only dealing with people 16 to 24. Women have more trouble getting jobs than men. We don't know that either, do we?
They getting more job.
Who's not working at this point in time?
I think so they get more job.
Yeah. Black men consistently have higher unemployment rates than white men of the same age. So when we look at young men, teenagers, there's a big gap between Black men and white men. And that gap continues as they enter their 20s. So that is your answer. C, Black men consistently have higher unemployment rates than white men of the same age. Cool, huh? These are kind of fun. I like tables. Tables you can get correct. We like that. Ooh, look at this. This is a schedule. City of New Orleans trains. And where the trains go. So we'll check down here. Schedule A shows the train schedule for trains 59 and 58, which travel between Chicago and New Orleans. Nice. The train called, what's that?
No. I say it's a 59 and 58.
That's quite the long jaunt. Doesn't give miles, does it? That's a long train ride. New Orleans to Chicago and back. Ooh. The train called City of New Orleans travels through the states of Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So did they give us a train name? This is it, City of New Orleans. And it travels through Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana. So this is true. At what time does train 59 going to New Orleans leave Greenwood, Mississippi? So we're going to find Greenwood right here. And it looks like it is arriving in and departing at 8:06 p.m.
Sounds good. Okay, I say good.
So 8 p.m. And then if you left New Orleans at 2:15 in the afternoon, you'd arrive in Chicago at what time? So at 2:15 in the afternoon, if we leave New Orleans, go, go. What time?
Here,
Chicago?
9:20 a.m.
Perfect. Perfect. Yep, where is that? Right there. Nice. I like tables. It's hard for them to mess around with tables. And this one's a little harder to read just because it's small print. Let me see if I can bring this down just a little bit. Clear. All right. The map pictured above shows where Asian Americans live in the United States. And here we've got the white is less than 1. This is probably population percentage. The little dots, 1 to 1.4, left or right leaning stripes, 1.5 to 2.4, left leaning 2.5 to 5, and then crisscross more than 5%. According to the map, the states with the largest percentage of Asian American population is California and Hawaii. If you're familiar with the United States, that makes sense because Hawaii, right here, is actually 3,000 miles off the coast of California. So Hawaii is out here. And then if you keep going west, you will hit Japan, Korea, you'll hit major Asia countries. So that makes a lot of sense that there would be more Asian Americans in these states than in any other, because that's where they come in. All right, the percentage of Asian Americans in each state with the checkerboard design is how much more than states that are not shaded at all. So what we're looking at is the key. We're not actually going to count any states. And it looks like if it's a checkerboard, it's more than 5%. If it's blank, it's less than 1. So what is the difference? Is it 3 times, 1.5, 2.5, 5, or 4?
3 times.
Yeah, it's going to actually be 5 times as more, because if you start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 1, 2, 3. Oh, 4 times. Sorry, I said 5 times. 4 times.
Just 4 times.
Yep, 4 times as many. And that's an interesting question because you almost feel like you should be looking at the map. Really, you're only looking at the percents from the key. Which statement best summarizes the information on the map? The 6 states in the north central part of the US each have about the same number of Asian Americans living there. The 6 states in the northern central part. That must be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They don't have about the same, do they?
I don't think so.
And I don't love questions like that because if you're not super familiar with the United States, then this doesn't necessarily make sense. You're not sure which 6 they're talking about. You know, they could be talking about these. And if they're talking about these, then that's absolutely true. But if they're talking about these guys, it's not true.
Yeah.
And generally, this is not central, this is. So interesting question. I don't really like it because it's not clear enough. Most Asian Americans living in the US are Chinese. We have no way of knowing that. The largest concentration of Asian Americans are in states bordering the Pacific and Atlantic. So we can pop up here. We know that we have a bigger population in California and Hawaii, and a fairly decent population in Oregon and Washington. Then we come over here to look at the Atlantic states. And through here, it's pretty good. But we get to the Carolinas and there are no or very few Asian people.
Right.
And then it picks up a little bit here in Georgia and Florida. So let's see if there's a better answer. Because certainly there's a large influx of Asian Americans on the West Coast,
Rather
sort
than-
of on the East until you get about halfway down. California has a larger percentage of Asian Americans in its population than New Mexico does. That's for sure, right? Because California is the biggest. That's our answer. California's got lots, New Mexico hardly any.
They still ever measure pink phenotype,
This is where I am.
body feather color green.
That's me right there.
That's phenotype
Hold on,
because that's what you look at with your eyes.
hold
But
on.
this is a genotype. Gene is something that only a genetic.
There we go. Nice, huh? You probably don't need to memorize all the states. However, what GED likes to do is to give you a section. So let's say they gave you the Great Lakes section. They'd actually give you an image that went something like this. They'd give you this piece of it, and that'd be the only thing they gave you. And they would not necessarily have the names in them. And they'd cut through Iowa because Iowa is not next to a Great Lake. But Minnesota is, Wisconsin is, Michigan is, Illinois is, and Indiana is, and so is Ohio. So that's something to think about. While you don't need to know the map of the United States, it would be a good idea to be fairly comfortable with regions. And that would mean this is your Northeast region. Northeast. This is the South. This is the Southwest. Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. This is the Pacific Northwest up here, PNW. Or that could be with California, then it would be West Coast. And then everything in the middle.
Central.
Yep. That's the Midwest. Right in the middle, all those big square states. So West Coast, Pacific Northwest, Midwest, Southwest. There's a couple kind of hanging out here. You just make these a little bit longer. The Great Lakes states, the South, and then the Northeast. New York is right there. I have not been to New York yet. I need to go. All right, that was a good one. It's a lot to look at in this. And for those of you who are not in the United States, it's a lot to deal with. You know, you probably know your country and your area really well, and then you have to know all this for the test. All right. Oh, this is a city map, downtown Pittsburgh. I'll bet it's, yeah, roads. Gives you a mileage chart. So let's see what they're going to make us do with this. The rivers that join together in downtown Pittsburgh are, so here, this looks like a river, does it not? Oh, right
There's
here.
dimension. I think there will be mention. It's
Yeah,
very dark.
Allegheny. And Monon, I don't know how to pronounce that. Monongahela, the Monongahela River and the Allegheny River. And they meet right here at the Ohio River. This should be blue. If this was on your test, this would all be a color.
Yeah, that's right.
The park would be green, the rivers
Yeah.
would be blue.
Yeah, that's
This
right.
would be, yeah, this would be much easier to read.
Yeah, that's right.
If you drive north on US Interstate 579 from Duquesne University and go west on US Interstate 279, let's find Interstate 579. 579. Here it is. So we're going, let me get this again. If you drive north on 579 from Duquesne University, where is Duquesne? Hard to see. Where in the world is Duquesne University? Anybody see
There's
that?
no university. That's, I don't think so there is university.
Huh.
I don't know. Just the next, just maybe just not the right.
I don't, oh, here, way down here.
Oh,
So here is 579. And again, if this kind of map is on your test, this will be much easier to see. It won't be black and white and gray. So if we're traveling on 579 going north, and then we hit Interstate 279. So we're going north, going north, going north, going north. Then up here, we hit 279. Then we turn north on Federal Street. So we come down here and then go north again. We will come to what point of interest? Right
that
there,
is,
we'll hit the
Central
Allegheny Mall. Yep.
uh,
So if you get, again, if you get a map like this, this will all be in color. You'll be able to find 579 easily. Then you'll be able to find 279 easily. So it'll be just much clearer. You find Duquesne, you go north, jump on 279, go north on Federal Street, and you run right into the mall. Nice. And then the directional map, Allegheny Center Mall. Directional map of Pittsburgh contains the following info. Does this have, where's the directional map? Usually, oh, right here. Nope, that's northeast, west, south. And the mileage. So this doesn't show airports, does it? And it doesn't show hotels. It does show points of interest like the Children's Museum, the mall, the aviary, the stadium.
Park.
Yeah, Heinz Hall, Civic Arena, post office. So for this one, it shows us points of interest. It does not show airports. It does not show hotels. It does not show freeway exits.
It's just tricky, but it's that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a busy map. It'll be better in color. All right. Is this our last one? Oh, it is. Okay, we've got another map of the US. This one is showing, oh, it's just the US. And then they always put in Alaska and Hawaii down at the bottom. Alaska is way up here, past Canada, way up here. And Hawaii is 3,000 miles out here in the blue Pacific Ocean. All right, so we are bordered by which countries?
For Canada, Mexico.
Yep, Canada and Mexico. And Canada, the US, and Mexico make up North America. When you get lower than Mexico and you get into other South American countries, you know, it gets really narrow down here. That is Central America. And then that plugs right into South America. All of this is water. We've got a lot, we're surrounded by a lot of water. Atlantic, Pacific, Gulf of Mexico, and then all of this. These Great Lakes are huge. They act like the ocean. They just found a sunken ship from over 120 years ago, right here in Lake Huron, just the other day. They've been looking for it forever and they found it. All right, what are two large mountain ranges located west of the Mississippi River? Again, this will be in color, so it'll be easier to see, but the Mississippi is right here. And so we're looking for two mountain ranges west. That means our first mountain range is going to be the Rocky Mountains.
Right.
And then the next mountain range are the Sierra Nevadas. So two sets. These are huge. These are pretty big. They didn't give you the Cascade Mountain Range. That's where all the volcanoes are up here in Washington and Oregon. I can see Mount Hood from most of the places in town. It has not blown yet. It was Mount St. Helens that blew in 1980. All right. So that was the Rockies and Sierra Nevadas.
So you have to see what the answer says. If they say east, you have to check on the east, not on the west.
Yeah. What did they give the Appalachians? They did, but that is east of the river.
Yeah, that's the
And
thing.
they wanted two mountain ranges west of the river.
Right.
So the Rockies, and then of course, an Alaskan mountain range, you wouldn't see it here since Alaska's way up here.
Yeah. It's more far, maybe. That's more far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. And I think we have one more question. These are kind of fun. I like maps. We don't use them anymore because we have our phones. It can be concluded from map C that all of the following are true except, so we are looking for the faults. Austin is the state capital of Texas. You know what? That is true, but do they tell us that on here? If you're not familiar, I don't know how you would,
Yeah.
because it doesn't show Austin, which I think is right about here. I think. I'm not positive. And then 5 Great Lakes lie between the northeast border of the US and Canada. I think that's true. 1, 2, 3. I think there's 5. Yep. There's Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, and Lake Superior. So again, we're looking for the faults. This is true, even though it doesn't show it. This is true. The eastern section of the United States possesses mountainous areas. Well, it does. We have the Appalachians right here.
But that's not the great, not the most area, I think.
Yeah, so let's look at the others. The Continental Divide runs through the Rocky Mountains. I don't know what the Continental Divide is, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Oh, wait, yes, it does. Look right there in tiny, tiny print. Runs right through the Rockies. So I'm not sure which one they want because all of these are true. The United States has many rivers and mountains. That's true. Continental Divide runs through the Rocky Mountains. That's true. The eastern section of the US possesses mountainous areas. True. 5 lakes. True. Austin. True. Austin is the capital of Texas, right? Am I wrong?
You should know more better.
I know. I'm going to look it up really quick. I'm pretty sure it is, but now I'm second guessing myself because one of those is supposed to be false. Let's see. Let's see. It's pretty. Is it the capital city? Maybe it's not. Oh my goodness, how do I not know this? Capital of Texas. It is Austin.
Yeah.
It is. So I don't know which one of these is supposed to be false.
I think
This
so.
is true. This is
I think
true.
so. You can give for the C. I think so, RD.
Yeah, it's got to be this one, right?
Yeah, because that's not the possession mountain area, what they are saying. Because if you see on the sea, right side is not mostly mountain area, but the left side is mostly mountain area.
True. And this is one range, but it doesn't go. I don't think it goes into New York. I think it ends before New York.
Yeah, yeah. But if you go on the left side, that's much area.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's several mountain ranges here. You've got the Rockies, which are those huge,
Yeah.
beautiful mountains, especially through Colorado. And then the Sierra Nevadas cut right through California and part of Nevada. They're nice. And then you've got our range right through here. And it's got up in Washington, you've got Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, the one that blew, Mount Adams. Then you get into Oregon, you've got Mount Hood. I'm missing one up in Washington because there are 5 peaks. The Mount St. Helens blew its top. It was an active volcano. It's still an active volcano. And now everybody's just sort of waiting for Mount Hood to blow because they're all in a line. And generally speaking, when a volcano goes, another one will go at some point in the future because they're in the same line. And I'm certain there are probably volcanic mountains here, but we don't hear about them all that often. These are active. So it's very interesting. I like geography. I think it's kind of fun. But this is very mountainous. It's a lot harder to ride your bike over here than it is through here. This area is flat as a pancake. Cool. That was fun.
Yeah.
Let me switch my. Yeah, I think it's got to be that there's not that many mountain ranges on the east.
Right.
It's a smaller range, and
Yeah, I think so. More lake and rivers.
it made me think though that maybe I didn't know this the capital of Austin or the capital of Texas. Like, wait, maybe it's Houston. No, it's not Houston. All right, so I've got some more of these. I think I'll send over for you guys to work on.
Yeah.
And they'll go into more social studies style questions. This is good because you were able to see all the different kinds of images they might give you. And again, I like the maps and the tables because it's really hard for them to mess them up. The
Right.
answer has to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, yes, you have to find them.
Yeah. And it'll be much better on the test because everything will be in color. It'll be really clear. This book originally was just black and white. It didn't ever have color.
Yeah, it's hard to read.
Yeah, it's much more difficult to read, especially if you're not familiar with the area.
Does the social study give for the civic as well and the law questions as well?
Yes. Yes, you will get questions on the United States government. You'll get questions on world
The
history.
law amendment.
And if you can do the civics test for the United States, that will answer almost everything you need to know.
Constitution?
It won't tell you the Constitution. It'll tell you that the Constitution is the law of the land,
Yeah.
but it won't necessarily brief you on what everything in the Constitution is. The big amendments, there are 27 amendments. The big ones are the First Amendment. You have the right in the United States to speak freely, to gather and protest. We have the freedom of the press, which means newspapers and periodicals, and freedom of or from religion, meaning you can be whatever religion or no religion, and it's perfectly okay. If you watch the news on what's going on in this country, sometimes you wonder about that one.
Mm.
But technically, you should have the freedom to believe as you wish. And then the other big one, which is unfortunate, is the Second Amendment, and that is the right to a militia, which people have interpreted to mean the right to own wicked guns. So, and I'm not anti-gun, but some of those guns I don't think need to be in the hands of regular people. They're more military style. So, yeah. So it's not a great amendment, and I think it's been bloated a bit. So it's one that everybody fights about. And there's no reason to fight about it. It is what it is. It says what it says, follow it, and there's no problem, right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it was written before we had an Army, a Navy, Air Force, or Marines. It was written before we had a Coast Guard. So it was written when communities needed to protect themselves,
Yeah.
which was a long time ago.
I think so. It's depend on the area and also with the time as well.
Right.
But that time was more needed. Now I think so, not more needed. Now people use it on the wrong way more.
Yeah. And, we have 4 huge branches of military. And every state has its own National Guard, which is kind of like a state army. That's the militia. So we as citizens don't need to arm ourselves to the extent that a militia would, because we're not trained.
Right.
We should have hunting rifles and all of that, for the things that people do. And for, if you're a hunter, I'm not, because I don't really like deer meat, but there are lots of hunters and they need to have weapons, and there's a lot of sport shooting. So you need weapons. Don't have a problem with that at all. But when you start getting military grade weapons into people's hands, I'm a little concerned. It's like, yeah, I wasn't trained on one of those. I didn't spend years in the military. So what are the other amendments you might want to know?
I think so.
Those are the biggest.
I think
Those
so.
are the 2.
Have one class for the amendment as well, like 8th Amendment, 7th Amendment.
Yeah. Fifth Amendment, you in a court of law, you don't have to incriminate yourself. So if you did something wrong, you don't have to admit it in a court. You can say, I take the 5th. I'm not gonna put myself on the line. You have that right. Somebody else can tell on you, but you don't have to tell on yourself. All right. Well, this was good. So
Yeah.
tomorrow, is there anything you need to see in science for those of you who will be here for science?
No,
Yeah.
that's what.
Is Jasmine still here? Let me go to gallery. Rats. Jasmine's gone. So we'll do science tomorrow. Probably do a little bit of periodic table. I found some more things that'll help. It's good knowledge to have. You do not need to memorize the periodic table at all. You just need to be familiar with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So
Thank-
you all have a great day, and I'll see some of you tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay.
have a good
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Bye.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.